today on Beyond 6 Seconds.
I'm a big believer that I'm not doing any favor by giving someone a job. As a matter of fact, I really believe it's the other way around these days. If you're really serious about taking care of your people, then they will be serious about taking care of you. So it's really give and take. It's a win-win.
Welcome to Beyond 6 Seconds, the podcast that goes beyond the 6-second first impression to share the extraordinary stories and achievements of everyday people. I'm your host, Carolyn Keel. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Ajay Prasad. After working as a corporate marketing executive for over 20 years, Ajay decided to become his own boss. In 2004, he left the corporate world and started GMR Web Team, a digital marketing agency. In the last few years, he decided to reposition the agency and focus on healthcare. Now the agency partners with healthcare providers to grow their online presence and increase patient acquisition. Ajay is also a serial entrepreneur and has founded several other successful businesses that include a transcription company, GMR Transcription, and a healthcare online reputation management software, RepuGen. Ajay, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Carolyn. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you here today. So I'd love to learn more about your career and how you've built it as an entrepreneur and then eventually as a serial entrepreneur. So after you spent so many years of your career in senior roles at several different firms, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
It was nothing that exciting. What happened is basically I was in charge of a major project, consumer electronic project in my last company. The product was launched on time, and then basically I was fired. Let's not talk about getting into details. So I was fired, and that totally shocked me because I've been in corporate America for the long time. And what bothered me about this firing, it was not like I had done anything wrong in the sense that the product was not shipped on time or everything worked. And actually that particular year, the product turned out to be very successful. But, I was fired because of, different reasons. So what amazed me was how little control I had over my life. I mean, here I had to spend 2 years literally sleeping and waking hours thinking about the product and, where is the problem and where to fix it. And then I had basically no control. I was asked to leave and I left. So I just wanted to have more control over my life. And that's when I decided that I'm not just going to go back to corporate world. I will tell you that I was offered a really nice job immediately after I was fired, literally within a week.
Wow.
And I took some time to think about it and I just decided not to. And I wanted to just have more control over my life.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into entrepreneurship, so that I just control whether good, bad, or ugly. I'm the one who is responsible, not anyone else.
That absolutely makes sense. Yeah, you want to have control over your own destiny in a certain way. Absolutely. Right after that happened, obviously it's a big shock and you're thinking about what you want to do next and you make this decision to become an entrepreneur. How do you choose what type of business and industry to focus your business on?
So obviously I focused on my strength. So I have been a marketing person forever. Marketing strategy was always my strength. And then, I had a short stint as CEO of a dot-com company that ended up fizzling out just like every other dot-com company, it looks like, in the late 1990s.
Yeah.
That experience made me very aware of where this internet is going. Remember, I started in 2004 where most of the people did not even think that they needed a website. So, I could see the new trend and I could see my expertise in marketing. And I just wanted to, mix both trends because at that time, people who were technical would understand how to design something, a website, for example, but they had no idea about the positioning on why you should be doing it. So I played on my strength, which was marketing and, my understanding of where the market will be going to start my agency.
I see. And that was the digital marketing agency that you started. Is that right?
That was the digital marketing agency.
Wow. So that was your first business. And I understand now you're a serial entrepreneur. You have multiple businesses and you even make investments in other businesses. How did you make that switch or that evolution from having one business that you ran on your own to having multiple businesses?
So, I totally focused on my needs. So I never went out to start like another new business. So for example, for GMR Transcription, I decided in 2005 to start offering proactive marketing online. The problem was I knew how to do that, but I had a team and I was not very sure that they would be able to do it based on my instructions. And my team was in India at that time. So instead of getting a client and making them a guinea pig, I created a guinea pig, which was a transcription. So I created like a website where you could upload your files that you needed to get transcribed, and then we could just assign it to someone and to test it. And by the way, I did the transcription because I knew that there was a need for it, because I one time wanted to get transcription done and I couldn't find any logical way that I could get it done for my recording. And my goal was not to make it very big. I just wanted to create a business and really do marketing on my own in my team to see how successful they are before I offer to someone else. Now, the timing was right again for GMR transcription because, like I said, there was a need. I thought that only marketing people will need it. It turned out that almost every segment of the people needed that service. And my team showed to me that they knew how to do marketing. So all of a sudden, you could start finding this website whenever there was someone was looking for transcription services, and people started contacting. So I started to build a small team, and now it has reached a point where it has 10,000 customers, and I have a president who runs it with a team of 4 other help and like 300 transcribers all over the US. And it became a really good business. So again, I started it not thinking that I want to build this business, but I built it, for myself to test my skills, and then it turned out to be successful. So now it's a business. RepuGen was the same thing. I realized in 2011-12 that online reputation is going to be critical. You could do as much marketing as you want, but if someone's reputation is not good, then people won't come to you once they find you online. So I created all these manual program for my client, and that you should be giving a card and all that to ask people to write reviews. And then it was very clear to me by the end of 2013 that unless there is an automated process, it will not work. So I checked at that time if there was another service. Now there are 10 other platforms like that, which I built, RepuGen. But if I had found one, just trust me, I would have just used that instead of creating my own. But I didn't find anything. So I created it for my client. And then what happened that some of my clients who had multiple, many businesses, they said, you know what, I don't need all the marketing for my other businesses or for other people, but I need this product. So we said, fine. We created something that was a software as a service concept out of that software that initially we had created for my client. And then gradually it just took off. So now I have a team that manages that part. So interestingly, that's what Amazon does, by the way. It's not like I copied Amazon or Amazon copied me, but they have the same strategy. And they just first created their e-commerce website, and then they said, hey, I can now offer my platform to others. Did the same thing when they were hosting. They said, now we can host our thing. We can offer our platform to other people for a fee. Same thing they did with the distribution. So yeah, you become good at it, and then you see that maybe there is a potential for it. I already have a 4th product that I've been using for 5 years, and I know that there's a need for it in the market. So I am contemplating right now about launching that one also. So I try things that is needed for me, and when it's working, and if I see that there's a market, then I will go and launch it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So really seeing that need in the market, even if it starts out as a need for you or your own business or your clients, and then just having that realization that, there's nothing out there in the market that serves this particular need in the way that you need it, and, just sort of creating it. So taking over in that part of the space. So that's wonderful. Yeah, it all relates. Besides having this eye for finding the opportunities in the marketplace and building those businesses, what skills or personal qualities that you have do you feel like have contributed the most to your success as an entrepreneur?
I learned in corporate that nothing that you do is guaranteed to work for the first time. In marketing, I'm talking about. So we have always tested. So it was always start small, means test it in a tiny market, fine tune it, make sure that everything is working, and then you launch it. So when we started doing Amazon services, I said, okay, let's test what we can do on one of my clients who agreed to be a guinea pig. So he said, okay, I'll do it for free for you, and you may end up getting some sales. If you don't, nothing happens, right? So there was no risk to them. So they said, sure, go ahead and do that. And we tested it. And once it started working, we figured out what are the processes, how did we do that? And now we are planning to launch the services for Amazon. So this training about how do you pick up one thing at a time and test it, and then come up with a process once it succeeds, you have to come up with a process so that you can replicate what you did on an ongoing basis, has really helped me. It's one thing that I will tell you that I don't know without corporate, I would have that experience. You don't need to be in corporation to get that mindset, but that's the mindset that I had, which has really helped me.
Right. Yeah, that's great, especially when you're developing a new product or innovating in a space to get something out there and test it and not be worried about getting it perfect the first time or even the 10th time, just having that iterative process when you're putting together your solutions.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the biggest challenge that you faced in either launching one of your new companies or running your business, and how did you address it or overcome it?
So, of course, when I started, remember, I had never been an entrepreneur. So first mistake I made was I thought that the startup is done just like you do a corporation. Okay. So that's the first error. So it's not even close. I made a lot of mistakes initially. And the biggest mistake that I made was to become enamored by anyone that walked into the door, take that because it was revenue. And I started to realize very quickly that you cannot be all things to all people. You will never do a better job. You'll never be a standout. So I started narrowing who is my ideal customer so that I should be able to turn down customers and just focus on the ones that we know that we will excel with. And this is like a simple thing when I'm telling you, right? But if you had no one there to guide you, which was my case, and you just assume that any customer is the ideal customer. That's what we used to say. It's like, hey, marketing is marketing. It doesn't matter what business you are in. And to an extent, it is correct. But then you can be very shallow and broad. But if you want to be deep, then it has to be narrow and deep. So I learned it over a period of time with a lot of heartaches and trying to jump over. I will quickly tell you that when there was a time when I was thinking about leaving this business because I was just overwhelmed by having to do the customer support. And one weekend when I was reflecting, I realized that there were only 3 people who were creating all this ruckus in my life. Everyone else was very happy. So next Monday I came and I just resigned those 3 accounts. And all of a sudden, everything was under control. But when you are starting a business, it is really a hard decision. I'm telling you to say, you know what, this person is not my right client. And that is a huge mistake that almost everyone makes when they started. And the sooner you can fix that, the better you are for the company. So that was one big mistake that I made. And the second is obviously I was too optimistic. You start to think that, in 4 months, everything should be fine. And it took 4 years. So now my mantra is that whatever you think that you need, it will take you longer to do it. And it will cost you more than what you think to get there.
Yeah, I see. And you said before that one of the mistakes you had at the very beginning was that you thought that you needed to run a startup like a corporation. Can you talk more about what you mean by that?
So you start to focus more on, the processes and then how would you handle it and hiring the right people. And so I was just over prepared. And then because I'm assuming that the marketing will be done just like it was being done where I was. When I started to get the customers, all of a sudden I realized that a lot of those things was not even relevant for the small businesses. So I had never heard of the concept of MVP, the minimal viable product. So I was like, okay, I'm full blown. Now I have this beautiful castle that I built. And then when we invite people, they say, oh, you call this castle, I won't even spend 2 cents over here. And they leave. And then you say, wait a minute, versus if I had just put basic structure and started inviting people, they would give you, feedback, right? They will say, I want, this is what you should do. This should be the design. And then you build based on the feedback of your actual customer rather than on your imagination. From corporation, you always think that you are very smart. But the fact of the matter is that we had tons of market research data. So, we were making those decisions in terms of what customer want in corporation, but it was backed by a lot of data and experience. Versus here, there was nothing like that. And I just assumed that this is what people want. So that was a major mistake. You tend to get into the signage and the building and the office and all those things. That's, again, totally unnecessary. And, now I tell people that the first thing you want to do is just focus on getting the first client. Right? Get a first customer, start taking care of them. And, what you need to do will come from there rather than from your imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to what you were saying before about, not trying to get things perfect and having that testing mindset. So that goes right into listening to what the customers are looking for. So speaking of your clients, what kind of feedback have you received from them? And if you have any success stories or really meaningful moments or pieces of feedback that you've gotten from clients that you'd like to share?
Sure. So there's this urgent care center that was losing money. And the owner actually, who knows me very well, called me and said, you know what, our lease is up in 5 months. We are trying to figure out whether we want to renew or not. We have been bleeding for 2 years. So do you think you can turn it around? And I remember looking at her saying, God, why you have to call me when you have 5 months left?
Mm-hmm.
So basically I told her that I don't think it's possible. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, do you want to give it a shot? Because what do I have to lose now? A few $1,000s in marketing. So we said, okay, let's do that. Now I realized that because urgent care center is so local, was that the marketing was much easier and relatively inexpensive. Secondly, I realized that in that vertical,
Mm-hmm.
other people also didn't know how to do marketing. So we launched it fully expecting that we will fail and the center is going to be closed, 100%. And I had even told my client that maybe 5% chance that it will work out. And she's like, okay, I'll take my chance. I have lost already, I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what's another 25,000 in the next 4 or 5 months? Now, it just turned out that it was an amazing turnaround story where in 2 months they were in black.
Wow.
And then, 3-4 months they were making profit. So needless to say, they went out and they renewed that lease for another 25 years for that location. So this is like my best story. And then, of course, I have many other clients who had some problem. Their practice is declining. I have had some whose practices are going up and they are scared that when it will stop. So they would contact me to say, what do I need to do to keep the momentum going? And we'll take a look at what they are being done. We'll suggest, and then we'll execute it for them. The best thing I will tell you is our turnover is generally speaking 2 to 3%, so under 5% every year, which is incredible for this industry.
Wow.
And the only reason being is that we just completely focus on their results, and now we know how to generate it.
That's amazing. Yeah, what an incredible success. Wow. And your turnover rates, is that turnover for your clients or your employees?
Both.
Ah.
But clients is what I'm talking about. The employees is much harder, as you know, in today's environment.
Yeah.
When you have more job openings than unemployed people.
Mm-hmm.
But given that, I have a fairly steady workforce, so I cannot complain. And even when there are turnovers, people will tell me that they would like to leave and give me 3-4 months notice so that I can not only find the replacement, but get trained by the same people, which tells me that maybe I have done something right about my relationship with the associates who come and join the company.
That's great. Yeah, I do occasionally talk to entrepreneurs, especially as their business starts to expand beyond just them and they start to hire their teams. And, a lot of them, because they're so new to running their own business, the whole concept of hiring and what to keep in mind and how to find the right talent is kind of pretty brand new to them. And a lot of them learn by trial and error. So I'm curious, you have such a great team that's willing to train others. And when they do turn over, to give you long periods of notice, which it sounds like you're definitely having a very successful relationship with your team. What kind of things do you look for when you're hiring and building a team in the talent that you find?
So first thing, I'm always looking at attitude more than the skills.
Mm-hmm.
And this was taught to me in my corporate world, that skills can be taught, attitude cannot be taught.
Right.
I'm very big on why you want to join this, take this position. Someone who is interested in learning more about digital marketing, or like recently we extended an offer to one of our interns, and she was very open. She said, I would like to really learn sales in addition to this marketing. So when people know what they want to do, I am able to help them get there so that we have the goodwill and everything like we talked about, so that, I have their goodwill and they don't want to abandon me. And then I sort of become their mentor. Mm-hmm. See, I was very blessed in my career early that I had some couple of mentors that they are still my mentors, who just basically decided that they are going to be a mentor. It's not like I even asked for that. So I definitely want to pay it forward. And just so that I have few of my employees who left for another company, even 3 years later, they still call me if they run into any issue because I'm still their mentor. If you know why someone wants to join you, if you have the people with right attitude, generally speaking, you'll do well. Skills, like I have said, what I do is not brain surgery, so people can learn. It's not like a big deal. Although, because we have hired so many people when they started as an intern, so they already have learned the skills anyway, the basics by the time they come on board.
Sure. And how many employees do you manage at your companies now?
So we have a team here in the US, in Orange County, California, and in India. In Orange County, when I'm saying Orange County in the US, I should say that because I have an office in Central Washington and another one in Medford, Oregon. Mm-hmm. So we have total of 15 people here and we have about 100 people in India. Mm-hmm. So all the execution is done from India. It's the planning, customer service, sales, everything is done from here.
I see. Okay. All right. So it sounds like a big global team. So that's great.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's too big, but yes.
It's like you're probably up all the time with all the time zones and time differences.
First thing in the morning and before I sleep, I'm on the phone with my team, overseas team. So yeah, it can get very exhausting.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I think it's great that you are a mentor to your team and that, if they know what they want to learn, like the one intern who came and told you that she wanted to learn about sales, that you actually make that happen and give those opportunities. I think that's really critical. That's what a lot of people are looking for when they're looking to find jobs and be employed by a company. So that's great.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer that I'm not doing any favor by giving someone a job. As a matter of fact, I really believe it's the other way around these days. So if you're really serious about taking care of your people, then they will be serious about taking care of you. So it's really give and take. It's a win-win.
Right. Fantastic. Wow. So in addition to running several businesses now, if I understand correctly, you also are an investor in other businesses. Is that correct?
Correct.
What do you look for when you want to invest in a business?
So, I look for a couple of things. First, I look for, is it a, unique idea? Mm-hmm. And by that, I'm not saying that is it like potential to be a Facebook or Microsoft or something. Mm-hmm. Any business that someone is getting into, are they different from whatever is available? So I really focus on how different they are. And of course, if there's a market for that product, and how is their product different from others? Mm-hmm. And when I'm saying different, I don't mean better. I mean, you can be screaming, Bing has been screaming, for, last 10 years and spent billions of dollars saying that their search engine is better than Google.
Right. Yeah.
But, there's a new one that says DuckDuckGo. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
Oh, no.
They have already picked up like 50 million or so users. It's a browser because they say, we never store any of your private data, browsing history. So now they are so different that Google cannot counter that. Google can always say, no, we are better than Bing. And then both of them can be just screaming at each other. But with this company, there is no way that Google can even say anything because the fact is that Google has to track your behavior. That's how they make money. And this company, their whole business foundation is not tracking it and how we make money. So that's what I mean by different. So my first thing I find it, how it is different. And how is their team? And by team, most of the companies I've invested in is really, founder is the main factor for me. The founder has the wisdom to pick up some people who complement their skill rather than just try to find people who just mimic their skill. And then third thing, which is also important for me is, am I bringing any value to the company other than the dollar amount? For example, if there's a company that can use my infrastructure, which makes me more comfortable because I know that we can do the job, that what they're looking for. If there's a company that has synergy with some other company that either one of my companies or some of the companies that I've invested in, so that I know that I can make this 2 + 2 = 5. So if I am bringing any value, that is also one of the key factors in my decision process.
Yeah, well, those are really fantastic points. And so interesting to hear all of the great advice that you've been able to share on this podcast from your perspective and your experience as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, and as a manager of talent, and as an investor in businesses. So yeah, I really appreciate all the great advice that you've shared on this episode. And and being so candid about the mistakes you've made and what you've learned from them. I think a lot of people who are listening will really appreciate hearing that and will help them develop their own businesses as well.
Yeah, I will tell them one thing, that if you have not made mistakes, then you have not really taken any risk.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Ajay, thank you so much for sharing all this great advice and all your great business stories on my podcast today. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your businesses?
So they can go to the websites, which, and maybe on the notes that you can share, the domain, they can contact me from there, or they can contact me through my LinkedIn, which is Ajay Prasad GMR. They can also follow me on Twitter, which is Ajay Prasad _.
Wonderful. And I will put links to your company websites and to your social media websites in the show notes so people can find it there too.
Perfect. Thank you.
As we close out, is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know, or anything else that they can either help or support you with?
If whoever is listening to this podcast is entrepreneur, I'll just tell them that really persistence is something that is going to make them succeed or not. They will make mistakes, and they just have to learn and keep on pivoting until they find the right path. That's what I'll share. I'm always here if they need something from me. Frankly, I'm fine in terms of needing anything, but anything I can do for anyone, I'm always here.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for being on my show too.
Thank you, Karan. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Beyond 6 Seconds. Please help us spread the word about this podcast. Share it with a friend, give us a shout out on your social media, or write a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. You can find all of our episodes on our website, www.beyond6seconds.com. Until next time.